is good, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday Weekday Wagers. My name is Mark Wallace, and listen, after yesterday's disaster, and I want to say huge thank you to Daniel Greer for stepping up for me and filling in. We had a little bit of a disaster here at the household yesterday. We had a pipe burst. It has been absolutely freezing here in upstate New York, and I have been dealing with cold water, soggy sheetrock, and figuring out whatever we could do to get hot showers rolling again. So update, we are all good here. It's just a matter of picking up the pieces. And listen, we got such a special guest for today that I am so excited that he's here. I do want to bring in Rob real quick Rob, I got to bring you in real quick there. How's that? How you doing, buddy? It's good to see you.
Man. Doing good. Sorry about your mess yesterday. I know that sucks. That's one of the worst things you can have happen. So very, very sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, that can't happen. No, we're good. We're good. Everything's warm. And then when you see water flowing out of your garage, it's like, yeah, I don't want the ice rink, right? Listen, I don't want to take up any more time. I am so excited to bring our special guest in. You may have heard him on Fox Radio. You may have seen his podcast called The Morning After. He literally was one of the first people I found when I first got into the betting space because and I can't wait to ask him. He has a passion for the Major League Baseball. Yes run, no run. Here, I will say it. YRFI, NRFI. There go my glasses. I love it.
Not a dirty word on this show.
Nope. So with that, I want to bring in our very special guest, Jared Smith. Jared, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Mark, Robbie. I appreciate you guys having me on. That's the first YRFI, NRFI reference I've heard in 2026, right? We're not quite to spring training yet. It's actually funny. I just started dusting off some of my baseball websites and things that I track, right? I have I have a love-hate relationship with all the tabs on my Internet Explorer screen.
Right.
So my baseball tabs are they've been in hiding for the last few months, but I just started to dust them off this week because this is kind of that week where we start to make that transition to other sports. But it is great to be here. I'm excited to talk a little ball with you guys.
Oh, fantastic. And listen, thank you for taking the time to join our show. We certainly appreciate it. And I do kind of want to give everybody who's watching a little bit of an introduction into you and what you're doing and kind of how you got here, because we've all seemed to arrive in a kind of a different way, right? How our path leading here has been a little bit different. When you look back at how you got into this space, what's the moment for you that it stopped being sort of a hobby and really became serious and something that you wanted to study?
It's a good question. So I definitely took a very unique path to the betting media world. So I was just like a regular media person for about 15 years. I graduated from Penn State in 2008. I was radio, play-by-play. I did a lot of reporting. I worked for some college athletic programs, LaSalle, FAU, and then I got into the local news space. I moved to Michigan for several years. I was a local news reporter, local sports reporter, anchor in Michigan, northern Michigan, covering local sports. I made it back to New York in 2015, started to work in the local news, local sports scene in New York City, worked my way up the ladder. Was actually doing pretty well, working at New York One, covering some pretty big stories, got to cover the Yankees in the playoffs. Had a little TV build going, and then I kind of hit a wall. Ended up, meeting someone romantically, ended up getting engaged, and I realized I wasn't making a whole lot of money in the TV space. And that's when I got into financial advising. I was actually a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch for about 3 or 4 years, at around the 2018, 2019 time. And then, unfortunately, the relationship failed, and I hated my job. So that's right around the time that PASPA was getting repealed. And I got a call from a former, not colleague, but like an old family friend that I went to Penn State with that I've known for years. And he was, at the time, the Sports Grid vice president of content at Sports Grid, which was the Fantasy Sports Network. And he called me and said, hey, we're switching all of our content to gambling. We're not all, but a lot of our content to gambling now that, we're getting into the sports betting world. And I remember, he's like, I remember you were a big bettor at Penn State. Can you talk about it on camera? And this was September of 2019. I did my first show for Sports Grid. And the first couple months was rough. You know, I didn't really, it was a hobby. I wasn't a,
Right.
or I was just someone who gambled for years. I've been gambling since I was in high school. And it was slow. It was kind of a build. But then after a few months of it, and they kept giving me shifts, I realized that this is something I like doing. So, and then I ended up quitting my, job I was working at Alliance Bernstein at the time, which is a big financial firm in Manhattan. They've got an office in Nashville too, actually, Robbie. But at that point I said, I don't want to be a corporate, finance person. I want to do this, and I want to get back into my broadcasting roots and, use sports betting as kind of the niche that I, go, talk through. And it worked out okay. I still feel like most days I'm kind of a degenerate that's kind of lucked into it. I don't really know if it's a real career or if it's just a hobby that I've kind of monetized, but I love what I do every day. And I feel like I have a good knack for it, storytelling and being able to kind of paint, different pictures about games. But it's definitely been a roundabout journey, no doubt.
Well, Robbie is our prop guy, and he's just our pop guru. Robbie, let me ask you, I mean, there's a lot of similarities there with Jared's story and how you kind of got into the betting space.
Yeah, very much. I wish it was my full-time gig, but unfortunately I have but I have 3 kids, so I got to stick with what pays the bills right now. But yeah, and it was all about just watching sports, especially in high school. While I was supposed to be taking notes, I was basically just memorizing the scores from every game and updating the standings on my notebook. So I've been heavily involved in sports. And then when it became legal in Tennessee, kind of messed around with it, doing it quite a bit. And I was like, I'm actually pretty good at this. So yeah, definitely very similar. I'm not made for a corporate world either. I would I'd rather be outside doing something with my current job. But yeah, very similar.
Well, you mentioned being outside, and Jared, I know just following you on your X posts and seeing all the things that you're doing because I know sports betting is important to you, but so is overall fitness and mental health and body health. And I'm sandwiched in between 2 guys that are big fitness guys right now. Is there a correlation for you between the two, between the health and fitness and the betting world? And how does that kind of play into your day-to-day?
Yes. I have become a significantly better gambler over the last 2 to 3 years that I've taken my fitness more seriously. Not physically. Obviously, there's no physical correlation to whether you're a good gambler or whether or not you're, in shape. But the mental, right? Because I've noticed that my mental clarity and my mental fitness has increased as my physical fitness has also improved. And when you learn key traits that are required to become fit, which is discipline and consistency, those are things that correlate to gambling. Because and I am a firm believer, like there's a strong push right now because of all the scandals and all the things going on where people are screaming at athletes because they lost their prop bet and their Venmo requesting them. There's a strong lobby pushback against gambling right now, right? We saw the pendulum swing wildly one direction, PASPA gets repealed, everyone's betting, everyone's excited, woo! And now it's kind of swinging back to where people are pushing back on it a little bit because of some of the negative stories, where I'm of the firm belief that gambling actually can be a very positive teacher for a young man or a young woman, but it's mostly men betting, in terms of being consistent and being disciplined and not overextending and slow gains, learning the art of delayed gratification. Those are lessons that if you can master that, you can be successful at gambling. And I think gambling can teach you how to do that. So there is a correlation, I think, between being in shape, getting in shape, and being mentally fit enough to handle the grind that is gambling day after day. And obviously anything is, potentially abusive. Absolutely. You can, extend yourself too far with betting. And that's where people need to understand bankroll management and the risks that are involved with it. But I believe that there are a lot of positive things that can come from betting. And I do think being physically in shape, knowing how to get in shape and what that takes, I think that can correlate also to being a successful gambler. Well,
let me ask you, Rob, because you're the other guy who's really, I know that is super into fitness. How does that sort of discipline with your daily workouts? I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. I know that has got to help if you're disciplined there with the workouts, does that help with the discipline in sports betting, especially as Jared points out with your bankroll management?
Yeah, and he nailed it. Discipline's the key. I mean, every day, 5 a.m., I'm in the gym. It's about as much as like brushing your teeth. It's what I do. And you can have bad nights gambling and go in, and you may be like, I don't want to do this, but in the same sense, you're doing it. You're going to have to do it. That's what I tell myself. After the workout, I feel a lot more clearer. I feel like, this is a new day. And like you said, with bankroll management, Mark, I've texted you even recently where I'm like, I have got way too much out there tonight. It's either going to be a really great night or it's going to be a really bad day tomorrow. And I fall in that trap too. I mean, there just depends on the slate. If there's a slate I absolutely love, I might overindulge in it. Right now, hockey's a great example of this. You've got guys that are doing maintenance because they're going to the Olympics this week. So normally some guys that are in a smash spot tonight, I may not take. But like he just said, it all boils down to that next day. You got to shake off. You got to try to bankroll manage it the best you can and move on to the next day. And after every morning, after the workout, I always feel better. Like it's always gone and it's always time to move on. That's how I kind of treat all this when it comes together as far as my daily routine goes.
Well, listen, we do have, and I know, Jared, you've got a heart out because you have another commitment here coming up. So I do want to ask you, because on Twitter, I know you post your Substack articles and you have a great article, and I don't want to give the entire article away on what's in there, but I am very curious because you framed this Super Bowl as more of a chess match than an actual shootout. When did that come to you as far as this is going to be a game played about making specific moves rather than just a free-for-all?
Yeah, I think so. One of the big pieces of advice I have for people is don't act like this game is different than any other game. Like there are elements of it that obviously are different. Halftime shows longer, right? You have to take that into account. Obviously, the build up to the game is a little bit longer. You get that extra week. But once the game starts, it's a football game, and it's the same as any other football game that was played throughout the course of the regular season and the few that we had in the postseason. And that is all about matchups. And it is all about coaching and coordinators and what these coordinators are trying to do. And based off of that, is there any value? Is there anything actionable when you actually dig into the matchups in these games? And I actually think this is going to be a little bit more of a defensive game. The total is relatively low. If you go back and look at, if you analyze the last 26 Super Bowls dating back to 1999, like the average total is in the high 40s. It's 47.5, pushing 48. So the fact that this total is under that, kind of tells me that this is, relatively speaking, the market expects this to be a lower scoring Super Bowl than what we've seen in prior years. And I would agree with that assessment because I think the Patriots defense might be a little bit undervalued. This is a defense that has become significantly more aggressive during the postseason. And this is also a defense that's getting back one of their big pieces and not someone who's actually playing in the game. Their defensive coordinator, Terrell Williams, who's been unfortunately dealing with the prostate cancer diagnosis, which happened right before the regular season, really threw a wrench in the Patriots defensive scheme. They were a much different defense throughout the first half of the season. Then they kind of found their sea legs in the second half. They've been really good down the stretch. They've been much more aggressive, a lot more man coverage, a lot more blitzing. And now Williams is back in the locker room, kind of back in the mix during the playoffs. So I think this Patriots defense, of all the units we're talking about, we talking a lot about Sam Darnold and how good the Seahawks offense has been. Absolutely. The Seahawks defense, right? That's the unit I think that's getting talked about the most. We're talking about Drake May, but we're not talking a lot about the Patriots defense. And I actually think that might be one of the better units on this field. They're really good against play action. They're really good at stopping the run, especially on the interior of the defensive line. And I think they could cause some problems for Darnold in this game.
Yeah, I would be interested to hear your response because I think I was so impressed with the Patriots defense when they played the Texans. And I made a comment here on the show that Patriots defense out-defensed the Houston's defense, which I didn't think was going to be possible in that game. Any thought, did you already believe in this Patriots defense before that? Or was there a moment in the season where you were like, damn, these guys are really that good?
So it was actually, I haven't really given the Patriots defense a whole lot of love or credit or really, interest until this process going to the Super Bowl. I really thought that that was the weak link of the team and that their offense with Drake May was kind of the breadwinner. But then when I looked into some of the numbers and I saw how strong their secondary was playing and how they've been able to. I love defenses that are able to reverse course and change their tendency in the playoffs. Because if you're looking at film from the regular season, the Patriots were about a 20% pressure rate, 25% blitz rate team. That's below average in the NFL. Here in the playoffs, they're 40% blitz rate and over 40% pressure rate. Now, you want to say they're facing the Chargers offensive line, Texans offensive line. They're facing the Broncos in a snowstorm. They're going to play more man coverage against teams that they feel like they have an edge on. I understand that pushback, but that's a really big uptick in blitz and pressure rate. Like that's more than just, all right, we think we have an edge here, so we're going to blitz a little bit more. I mean, they're almost doubling their blitz rate from the regular season. And I think they feel that because those two interior linemen, Barmore and Williams, are playing at a high level, they don't need to really rely, and also the two outside corners, Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez, because they're really solid at those two spots, they feel like they can bring some outside pressure and try to heat up the quarterback, and it's been really successful so far.
Well, I know that kind of leads into, I know that you were gracious enough to show up here today, not just with your time, but you also have a play that you like for the Super Bowl. I'm going to switch over to that, let you explain this one for about 90 seconds, and then we're going to get you out of here. Hold on one second. Let's do this. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, I think one of the plays that I really like in this game is the second half to have more points than the first. So this is a play that now there's two different ways you could bet this. You could bet the first half under, which has also been very profitable since 1999, right? You go back to the last 26 Super Bowls, it's hitting at a 65% rate. But the second half has had more points than the first half in almost 70% of Super Bowls since 1999. The three-way market is the way that I would play it, which means the tie counts, right? If you're familiar with soccer betting, right? You bet the win. You can bet also the draw. So the three-way market, you're paying less vig for this bet, minus 120. If you're just doing the two-way market, which would mean if the first and second half have the same amount of points, your bet would push. You're probably going to pay around minus 150 or minus 160 for this prop. I think either one is fine. But if you have access to the three-way market, I would prefer the minus 120. And again, this is just the way Super Bowls tend to go. They start slow, and then they pick up in the second half.
I love that play. I love that look. That's such a great look to approach this game. You don't have to worry about picking a side. And I'm not going to put your feet to the fire, although I will say this. Our other host, Daniel Greer, is in the chat, and he says, imagine that a smart sports bettor sides with him and the Patriots. Don't let Mark or Robbie jump on the Patriots side now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think the Pats are going to cover this game. I don't know if they're going to win, but I think the Patriots are live in this game. I do think that New England is, because of their defense, playing a little bit better than people think. I think the New England side is probably not getting as much love as they should.
Well, listen, and with that, Jared, I know that we are up against that time frame here for you. I can't thank you enough for joining this show. We have to do this again, especially when we start talking about baseball, YRFI, NRFIs. I would love to pick your brain on that. I don't know that you know how big of an influence you have been in my sports betting, especially when it comes to the major league. I got into this market in the yes run, no run first inning bets. My ADD doesn't allow me to sit through an entire baseball game. So
I don't blame you.
I want that, first 6 outs and let's get out. So yes, finding your information was so shaping, and I really appreciate it. I always look forward to it. I hope you can come back and join us again as baseball season gets closer, and we can start shooting it up over some baseball picks.
That's some really kind words, honestly. Like, when you do this job, you don't usually hear a lot of the positive. Usually you get mostly negative feedback. And I always say you don't really know who out there is really listening and who is influenced by it, because those people tend to do it in silence. But I appreciate you reaching out, and I appreciate the kind words. It really does mean a lot.
Yeah, listen, it's got me here. So thank you. I appreciate it.
That's awesome, man.
Listen, with that, we're going to take a quick little break and listen to our good friend Seabass. And Jared, thank you again. We appreciate you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Seabass, the only 5-star chef in the game. We all know sports betting is full of bad beats and tough calls, but when it comes to flavor, there's no second guessing. Bassett's Blends is the plus EV lock of every meal. We don't need a stinking model. Crafted with winning spices and bold taste, Bassett's Blends comes in 3 flavors: original, hot, and no salt. That's going to turn chicken, steak, vegetables, any dish into a can't miss cover every night. With Bassett's Blends, there's no bad beats, No flavor fades, just guaranteed greatness. Check out the link right here where you can pick up your Bassett's blends for a guaranteed lock every single night.
Absolutely. Go grab some Bassett blends. And Jared, thank you again. Tonight, I'm going to the ice, and we're going to take the Detroit Red Wings to get at least one power play goal. You can get that at plus 100. This is one of those spots where timing matters more than trend chasing. Detroit's power play hasn't scored in 5 straight games, and normally that scares people off, but that's actually what creates the value here. This unit has been elite all season long. They've been top tier in their conversion rate, and nothing about the personnel or structure has really changed. What has changed is the game environment. Utah is playing fast right now. They're scoring at a high clip, especially at home. That was my play back on Monday. And when games open up like that, penalties tend to follow. Detroit, well, they're coming off 2 heavy physical games against Colorado, which usually leads to a simpler, more offensive approach. Get pucks deep, attack the middle, draw contact, and that's how power plays are earned. On the Utah side, their penalty kill, it's been a little bit leaky, right? While as good as Karel Vejmelka has been in goal when it's 5-on-5, when they're down a man, things tend to open up. I love this spot for the Red Wings to get on the board via the power play. I knew that was going to happen.
Love that look as well, Mark. I'm going to go to 2 guys who should go off tonight because neither one of them are playing in the Olympics, and Cole Caulfield owes us a little bit from the other night. So I'm going to take Cole Caulfield and Wyatt Johnston to both get a point at plus 107. Grab that at Bet365. Cole's playing Winnipeg, and Winnipeg is not the same team as they were last year. This might be the first year that they don't actually make the playoffs, but it's what Cole's done against Winnipeg in the past. He's an assist machine. If you don't like the point and you want to play a solo prop, I think his assist prop is worth playing. He doesn't score a ton of goals against Winnipeg, but he has 1+ assist/point in his last 4 games against them with 9 points overall in his last 10. Love this as a good bounce back spot for Montreal as well. They lost the other night to Minnesota. I think this is a get right game for them. Then the second guy is Wyatt Johnston. And this is a game where they're playing the St. Louis Blues. And if you watch them play the Preds the other night, the Blues were up 5-1. Nashville came back and won 6-5. I think they're dejected. They're a team that's probably looking to sell off some assets. And also Wyatt has been nothing but dominant against them as well. In his last 10 games, he has 8 points against them, 4 goals, 4 assists. I love this spot for both of these guys just to grab a point tonight at plus 107. What a great look. I love that. I think that Cole has a great one, and I love that angle on Johnston. Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't like betting Dallas Stars player props as much because they're very inconsistent, but Wyatt and Jason Robertson, you might could even sub in Jason Robertson for this play. I think both of those guys have a night against St. Louis. And listen, I wish we had more time with Jared because I know that Jared he's got some interesting looks when it comes to hockey. He's on his way to go do the NFL. He'll be on Media Row starting tomorrow. So that's awesome. Yeah, he'll be up there working for Fox Sports Radio doing that. But I'm just going to ask you now. He's not on. He can't hear us. What'd you think? No, I thought it was an awesome conversation. He's definitely a guy I could sit down and talk shop with, whether it be sports, working out. I think that he was an awesome guest. And his article, if you haven't read it on X, it's a great in-depth article on this game. It's actually swayed me, not for the money line or the Pats, but for a certain player on Seattle. Don't give DG any. Don't give him fuel. No. The only thing that I think was worth that might could sway someone is their coach coming back from the prostate cancer, because players tend to rally around a guy like that. That was the only thing that if it was going to ever sway me, that would be it, because you'll see an uptick in how they play. I still think Seattle wins this game. I still think Seattle owns this game. But there is a guy in Seattle that I wasn't on, that I was hesitant. But after reading his article, I may have to put a play up at Just a Stat Sports on. I like it. Yeah, get over there and see that article. The guy is so analytical in his approach. That's not blowing sunshine. As a guy who is deeply analytic myself and relies on numbers to be able to find somebody like Jared Smith when I first entered this space to kind of shape me as to how I wanted to view things and what I was looking at, right? What the numbers really represent. It is inspiring, and we don't always get a chance. I don't always get a chance to recognize the people that have helped shape
me so far in this journey. And today was really one of those full circle moments for me. It was kind of cool. There was some comments in the chat, though, that I think we can address them now.
I've seen some of those.
That Jared looks like he could probably squat more than Robbie.
I'm down to come to Vegas and see.
Kim says he could probably squat you.
Well, I'm 200 pounds, so I hope he can.
Well, Joe, I think, has the most astute observation, and that he knows that Mark can outdrink both of these guys. I don't know that I can outdrink Robbie, but
you could outdrink 38-year-old Robbie. You couldn't outdrink 19-year-old Robbie.
Fair enough. And I did want to see this. I saw D. Johnson's comment in there. He hopes everyone's doing well. He's glad to be back. We're glad you are back, D. Johnson. And I hope everything is going well with you. Let's see. I am trying to see. We do have our Light the Lamp segment.
Solid list.
Listen, we got Kirill the Thrill or the Chill, depending on the night.
That's Marchenko. Marchenko is the chill. Kaprizov is the thrill.
Well, listen. Okay.
I can't wait to get a parlay together with these two one day this season.
The thrill chill? The chilly thrill?
Chill. Yeah.
We got Kirill, whatever his name is, Capri Sun at plus 110, Connor McDavid at 115, Mikko Ratantanan at plus 150.
No.
I know I butchered that name. I know. Nope.
Rantanen.
Not today. Today it's Ratantanan.
I thought you called him Tatanka. I was like, what are you doing? Okay. Yeah. Keep going.
We got Philip Forsberg and Alex the Big Cat, the Brink Cat at plus 175. Who do you like here?
Going off the board, baby. Give me Wyatt Johnson at plus 140.
Yeah,
4 goals in his last 8 games. I just think this is a smash spot. Honestly, Winnipeg as well. Kyle Connor has excellent history against Montreal. I think that is a solid look tonight. And then Steve Stammer, the Hammer Stamkos against Minnesota. I think that could be another one tonight as well. So those are some guys if you're wanting to go off the board.
And it is so funny because Miss Kim just said Ratatouille, and that literally is the name that popped into my head as I started reading it. So, yes, that was that one. And no, DG, I'm not good at relaxing my throat to chug. I don't chug. It's an unhealthy trait, to be honest. It really is. It's not a healthy. I'm not proud of it, but yeah, I can sit there at the bar for a very long time. It's not good. Rob.
Yeah.
What a show.
Who you got?
Dude.
Hey, you didn't give out your score.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I'm going with Kirill.
Okay.
They're playing Nashville. I think the Wild are going to have there's going to be a lot of goals scored in this game. I think Nashville, especially with Saros in goal for the Preds, he has been so inconsistent as of late. He hasn't had the type of seasons he's had in the past, and I think that really opens the door, especially for a guy like Kaprizov to take advantage of.
Yeah, I like Kaprizov as well tonight. You can still get him at plus money. Matt Boldy is probably another look on that game that's worth it. I've been on him a few nights this week.
That was the other one I saw. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was the other one.
It'll be a Matt Boldy game too, for sure.
Well, listen, it is Wednesday, which normally we have Robbie's radar. You gave that out yesterday. I love those. I actually did have a chance to go back and watch yesterday's show as I was ripping off drywall and everything else. I was kind of listening to it in the background. Is there a Super Bowl prop or something that has come up this week that you're like, you know what? I really like that.
I did see a boost yesterday, and I actually posted it at Justice Stat Sports today. I think it came out today. It was yesterday. So if you look for happy hour boost, sportsbooks are giving out happy hour boost usually around 4 p.m. each day. I don't tell every one of them. I think they're kind of trappy. But yesterday they had a 50% boost on receiving yards. So I don't care to tell you. I took JSN, who was on Robbie's radar, down to 80 yards. And then I combined it with Matt Collins, who I love as well for the Patriots, for 15-plus yards and grabbed that at plus 153. Without the boost, it's plus 102, I believe, without the boost. So I think there's still great value in that play. But you're talking about almost a 20-yard discount for JSN, and then Matt can get 15 on his own. So that's what I would look for, especially as the game draws near. You're going to see all these boosts come up. Don't go too crazy, but if you see something you like, I thought the receiving boost was one that I was really wanting to get into.
Okay. I like it. I'm glad I asked. It falls right in line with your Robbie's radar. I won't say it.
It does. It does. It does. But that second half angle that Jared was talking about, that's a solid look. And for that number too, -122, I think that's a great look.
I love that look, especially since you got to figure that in the first half, these defenses are going to dominate the game. Will there be points scored? Yes, hopefully. I don't want to see a 0-0 or 0-3 type first half to a Super Bowl. That would be absolutely boredom. Yeah. But I do think as things start to open up in the second half, and if teams become more desperate in their approach, because there is no tomorrow in this, there's no we're coming back, there's no punting on fourth down type mentality, I think we start to see a lot of points.
I will say the only thing that does scare me is the second half adjustments, because Mike McDonald is great. They play zone pretty much majority of the time, and they switched to man last week or 2 weeks ago when they played the Rams. And if your name's not Puka Nacua, you're not really getting much on that secondary of Seattle. So I saw they can play man just as well as they can play zone. And I think that's going to be a big factor, especially in that second half. And it's going to be what Drake May does against their blitzes and schemes as well. Because if they can rattle his cage early, it could be shut down city in the second half. I'm hoping not. I'm like you. I want to see a high-scoring game, but this feels like an under all over it.
And Boogie brings up a great point. This could be a running back and tight ends kind of receiving game. And, where the defenses are so focused on shutting down the wide receiver weapons, especially on the Seattle side, right? I mean, that has to be the Patriots' approach to this game, is they have to shut down. If they can take away JSN and make Seattle have to run the ball against their best rushing defense, that kind of plays right into it.
See, and that's why I did Kenneth Walker and JSN. I feel like both have the opportunity to go off in different ways. Kenneth Walker, I think, especially through the air. But if for whatever reason they're shutting down JSN, I feel like that balance is going to tip towards Kenneth Walker, right, because he's too good of a back for it not to. And that leaving open that middle and intermediate, a guy like A.J. Barner, a guy I talked about a couple of weeks, he hasn't done much. I know that Niners game, he didn't have to do much. I expected him to do more last week against the Rams, but it just turned into the JSN show and Kenneth Walker show. On the Patriots side, like you're talking about, Hunter Henry's a name where when I'm on him, he does absolutely nothing. But when I'm against him, and when we're against him, we proved that on the Sunday night halftime show, the guy turns into a beast. So in my head, I'm not on him. So if you're looking at Hunter Henry, I'm probably not going to be on him. So I'd imagine he might have a big game this weekend.
Wait a minute. In your head, you're not on him, or in the sports books, you're not on him?
Head, heart, and wallet. I'm not betting him at all.
All right. So listen, here's what I'll tell everyone who's listening and watching right now. Hammer Hunter Henry, because that's a go-to right now.
That is the Triple H. Hammer Hunter Henry.
Listen, thank you guys so much for joining us here. We are well past our 30 minutes. Please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. And Jared Smith, again, thank you so much for making the time to join us today. Be sure you guys come back tomorrow for Thursday. DG will be back. Rob will be back. We got the Traders Talk on Thursday. So much happening in the world of trade. So much happening in the world of the NBA. We didn't even get to touch on all the trades. Man. Anthony Davis gone. It's been a fiasco over the last 2 days in the NBA. It's going to be interesting to see how the dust settles. But when it does, we will be right here at 2:00 Eastern to break it down for you. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy.